want to actually have, this much space lying around here. We want to actually have like a full view for our mobile view. And then, so we to help us with that, we would have some sort of, so what we're doing is we're already writing the media queries, yeah, inside, using the classes, using the Tailwind utility CSS, yeah. So we have a LG, yeah, yeah, and that can just be full. I don't even need to specify, say, a W full. So a W full is 100% width. I don't even need to specify that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, and yeah. Before I go on, it'd be nice for us to actually specify the colors, our colors in this design. So we have the text color. Um, yeah, we have this text color here. Yeah, and then we have this yellow background, and then we have this text, and then we have this text, and then let me see, we have this one, we have this little yellow here. Can I have that? Okay. So what I want us to do is, have, define some variables, some text variables already in our CSS. Yeah. Um, yeah. So we're going to define these variables in our root. Yeah. Say, um, let's go with for for this text right here. I'm bad at giving names, but let's try. So we say the dash main color one. Okay, so um that's that's for the first color, and then the second color. Let's give let's have this color. Yeah. So let's have this color here. Main color two. And then let's see what else. Okay, I think we already have this one. We have this one. Yes. So yeah, this is different. So we have this one. It's like the small text here. It's main color three. Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, and then we can start having, having classes for them. So I'd say, um, yeah, if it would have been nice if, one of the cool thing about Tailwind is you barely really need to actually write a whole bunch of CSS, but there are cases where you just have to, when you have to probably specify your color, probably specify some sort of, width and height that, you know Tailwind doesn't come with Tailwind. However, there are actually ways you can actually do that with, your Tailwind if you set up with posts. It's called, let me see. Yeah, if you set up the post CSS import here, and then it will be nice, it will be easy for you to actually have your theme in the tailwind.config.js. You can set up your theme. Examples of ways you can actually set up your theme is, so let's look for, say, width. And then in width I have all of these, properties. I have width from 0 to 4 reams to the percentage. But however, if I'm looking for a particular type, of property, of width property, and Tailwind doesn't have this, I can actually come and specify in my tailwind.config.js. In the theme I can specify, give it a name, and give it the property. Yeah, give it a CSS, more like a CSS name that will actually append, like say, yeah, that will actually now append to uh you know to our width, here. So how is it being used? Let me see if it's yeah. So for instance, if I have like a 72 year, 72, and I'm specifying the property for 72 year to be 18 ring, so I could just come append that in my w dash 72. Yeah, yeah, something like that, and it works. But because we didn't set this up, we're just setting this up as a static site. We don't have the tailwind.config.js and all of those, so that's why we're just writing, specifying our colors ourselves, and probably just a few other things that we might just need to specify ourselves. So we have text dash color dash one, and color will be variable. Yeah. Cool. And for our first heading text right here, so we should have a color. Yeah. And then when I check with my word fonts, so it specifies that this is Muli, this is extra bold, 800 width, 36 pixels, and then we have the color 2F3146, just like we have it. Yeah, 2F3146. So yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so what next in our design? Yes. Okay, since we're done with the heading, we might actually get back to it, to actually, because I didn't pay attention to the mobile view, but I'm sure we'll get back at that. However, I know I'm supposed to start with the mobile view, but for this class, let's just hop in this way. Yeah. And yes, for these other sections here, so we're going to hold both sections as one first. Yeah, they would have one container, one wrapping element, one container element, one wrapping element. Yeah. And that would be this div. And then because we have some sort of one dimensional, you know seeing it like this, like I'm seeing these four items as one element, and I'm seeing this block section as one element, so making two. So I'm seeing this view as like a one dimensional view. Yeah, so it's just one dimensional. I'm not looking at the two dimensional, and because of this I'll be using flex. Yeah, I'll be using flex. And Tailwind also have bunch of flex properties that you can actually use. So for yeah, uh, yeah, so yeah. And for flex, you can see a bunch of examples right here. We have for instance, you have these two items in here, and they have like a parent div, So this the parents div from here, this div and it ends here, yeah. And then you have these items, you have this short, you have this medium length here. And for them to actually sit beside each other, more like align much more easily, you have flex, yeah, and then you have your background. Basically, that's just what Tailwind just did. You just have your flex and you have your background. Quite simple like that. So we'll be doing the same thing right here. We have flex, and then when we have flex, you can see that they are side by side. Yeah, they're side by side. But before then, let me take out the flex. You see our first section here and our second section here. Yeah, they're just right above each other. Yeah, but then when I have flex, it gives me that one-dimensional feeling. Yeah, it gives me that one-dimensional feel. And then I want to take it, if I want to take it further, have some sort of spacing between them. And I'll be using the justify content here. So this justify content is also a flex box property. It's a flex box property, and more specifically, I'll be using the justify between. So what justify between does is it gives space between items. Yeah. An example of justify between is used here. Yeah. So you have three items, one, two, three. Yeah, one, two, three, and the parent element has a flex. The parent element has a flex class as the justify between. Yeah, so we'll have a justify. I'm sure many people will argue that there are lots of other ways to actually, do this. You could actually use your grid system and the likes, yeah. But I've chosen to actually use Flex because I feel it's much more, easy to implement, yeah. And then since we have that now, so I want to now focus. So my I have my items by the right, by the left, and my blog post, my blog group, blog section by the right. Yeah. Yes. And yes, for these items here, yes, I would want to actually have them in some sort of grid, grid design, how it is right here in our design. And for that, I will be using the grid. Yeah, the grid has a whole lot of similarities with Flex. It's just that our Flex is for one dimension. You know, is for actually doing things. Put arranging elements or presenting elements in a one-dimensional manner. Grid, however, displays things or presents items in a two-dimension manner. Yeah, so that's your horizontal, your columns and rows. Yeah, so we have grid. Yeah, okay, so we have grids. And then to go much more further, so I'll take you to grid. And I want to actually have some sort of, have them looking for, yes. So for me to actually have my items, have them, two, one, two, three, four. Yeah, I'm going to be using the grid colors column 2. Yeah, so yeah, so this is grid column 2. Yeah, so it has a fraction each. We're having a fraction each here, and it's going to repeat it twice. Yeah, so that's why we have them all together right here. And I want to give them, you know, I want to give it a gap, so I'm gonna give it gap 4. We have all of this in. What's the gap? Yeah, so we have gap 4. So what this actually means is it gives each item, each grid item, some sort of, padding, like say padding, or it gives, let's say margin or so. Yeah, it gives is some sort of margin all between the rows and columns of the grid items. Yeah. To make things actually, to make to help us actually start having a feel of what we're doing, let's just give the div, all the divs here, because we'll be using divs here. Let's give the divs a border 1 dotted black. Yeah, exactly, to just give us that feel of, to give us that feel and actually show us what we're doing. Yeah. Okay, so we have this. Yes, and so we're going to take this one after the other. So pay attention to the first one. If we get the first one right, we should be able to actually replicate and, build, replicate for other items. So for the first one, I would want us, for the design, we see that it's obvious that the reason why this has a yellow background here, and the reason why this SVG icons is quite different from the likes, is because there seems to be like an overstate. Sorry, there seems to be like a overstate for this item here, and that's hence the reason why we have the yellow background, and then we have a different, we have SVG with white background and, black, path, anyway, like the SVG is quite different from how others look like. So it's quite obvious that there's been like an overstate here. So let's first, write the code without the overstate. So and so we'll be paying more attention to, developing for non-overstates first. Yeah. So let's have, for this icon, so I'm just gonna have a span. I'm gonna have a span there, and then I'm gonna have a text, say collections, another text right here. Okay. Yes. So you see, it's actually, you know, taking shape, kind of. Yeah, kind of. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, yeah. Also, because if you also, yeah, pay close attention to, if you also pay close attention to um, to our items here. For the blog, on the blog almost the item